We're live. Let's go. Another episode of Sports Gambling with Moneyline Monaco. Alex Monaco coming at you the day before Thursday Night Football. 2 sleeps removed from taking the Atlanta Falcons plus 5.5, just so you know who you're listening to. Very pedestrian start against the spread to the program this year, but I got to be honest. You're looking at some of these outcomes, week 1, week 2. We're dealing with a lot of unpredictability. We're dealing with a league that doesn't really take the preseason that serious anymore. And you look at the drop-off with touchdowns. You look at the unders. And before we dive in, just week 2 alone, dogs 10-5-1 against the spread. Unders 10-5-1 to the under. And you also sit here and think, all right, underdogs of 6 or more through 2 weeks are 8-0 against the spread. 5.5-point dogs, if you're including that Falcons, 9-1 ATS through 2 weeks, 5 outright wins. As we lay the land and set the tone for Thursday Night Football, and I'm going, for those who follow me, live in New York, host a better half hour on MSG Networks. Make sure to check it out. We'll be live on air tomorrow. We will be changing out of the on-air close, hitting right where we need to go to MetLife. And the line at the moment, a day before the game, still chills at Patriots plus 6.5. They're plus 220 on the money line. We've seen this over-under, which we're going to get into. I find the most compelling. 38.5 is the over-under. Not that this always matters, juiced a little more to the over, and you did see it open at around this number, drop to 37.5 already. It's back up to 38.5. Now, we got a couple elements when it comes to this game. Home teams, we're at the point with Thursday Night Football. We got a lot of sample sizes, but we have 2 elements here that are interesting. Home teams against the spread, this is just talk in general before we get into the team specific, are not great covers. Home teams against the spread. And I got this through, I believe it was Sports Grid. 29-43 against the spread. Home teams are on Thursday nights just 35-37 straight up. However, you got 2 interesting elements here. You have a Patriots team coming off of overtime. Typically, historically, against the spread, teams off overtimes coming into week 3 or coming into the next week, not a great spot to be. You look at what happened to the Rams. Now, again, outlier example, banged up all over the place, but they went to overtime, and that was road to road, and they got smacked. And here we are with the Patriots. Now, they are going home to road. But this is an interesting game. Now, historically, and this shouldn't matter at all, I suppose, for this setup, but let's just talk Jets, Patriots by the numbers. And I got this from the Action Network, which is absolutely incredible. We have not seen a Jets favorite of this number in this head-to-head where they're laying 6.5 or more since 1999. Now, this Jets team, they come in, and we got questions. We got Rodgers 25th in passing yards through 2 games. Now, he's doing what he does, taking excellent care of the football. That's one thing you know Rodgers is going to do, 100% healthy or not, take care of the football. But the fact that we're 2 weeks in and Breece Hall is leading in receptions, I had to triple check my astigmatism. Is that not a little Nathaniel Hackett cause for concern? I mean, we're talking about 12 catches, Breece Hall receiving, leading the Jets in receptions through 2 weeks. Oh, it's what the defense gave them. Week 1, week 2, going against 2 very good defenses. Sure. Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers' rapport, I think, is only going to get stronger. I think he trusts him. You saw that third and one. I believe Orlovsky broke it down on Twitter. Fantastic pre-snap, hot route, Peyton Manning, Omaha, shout out Wedding Crashers, Red 7. Changes the play at the line of scrimmage. Garrett Wilson, like a great center fielder, had to swivel this way to make the catch. Made the catch. That was 17-17. Jets go down to score. Jets win, Jets cover. Now, we were on the Jets last week. There's a huge element in betting where if you get a team wrong the previous week and you go into backing or fading that team the next week, you got to be a real Men in Black. Break that out. 10-second Tom from 51st States. You got to have Andrew Luck threw a pick. Don't worry about it. I'm out for the next drive. Brett Favre, assassin mentality. And not a lot of people have it in betting. But if you back the team correctly and you go into the following week, you're able to look at it a little less emotionally. I would like to think that's a human nature observation. Could be wrong on that. But let's talk what the Jets have been theme-wise through 2 weeks, what the Patriots have been theme-wise through 2 weeks. Chicken scratch over here. We know the Patriots are not going to throw the football. We just know the Patriots are not going to throw the football down the field. Brissett's got one completion at 20-plus. 20-plus yards, one completion. Now, just as much as you can sit here and talk a little ish on Breece Hall leading the Jets in receiving through 2 weeks as far as catches, Hunter, nobody drafted him in fantasy. Henry, Ayuk turning down deals to the Patriots. There's no one to throw to. This is a serious problem in New England. But on that same notion, you got two absolute dogs. And I have a no fantasy football drafting New England players policy going back now 5 years, and I still stand by it. But this 1-2 punch of Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson with, I think, a slept-on offensive line. Now, they are clearly taking any building block from last year offensively and trying to triple down on it. Ramondre is a real running back, and Antonio Gibson is right there next to him as a guy that runs downhill and looks to punish you. We got the numbers here. We got a Patriots team going for 185 and 170 on the ground. Now, you go back to the Bengals rush D last year, and they lost Reader, and that was a big loss. This was a serviceable Bengals rush D last year. Then you see what the Patriots did week 2. Now, granted, Seahawks, clearly a better offensive team than defensive. That's why they brought in McDonald. That's going to be trial and error. But this New England team is looking to punish you on the ground. And I look at what the Jets have done, or lack thereof, on the run deep perspective through 2 weeks. Granted, you go against the Shanahan running scheme, but no McCaffrey, Mason in last second, he still gouges you. And then you look at what happened last week, and I think the Titans are a terribly coached club that has no identity yet. I think they're just piecemealing game plans together. We're only 2 weeks in, but there are pieces on that team, and they're just misusing them. And we're talking about a key Will Levis turnover early when they were up. We're talking about a huge roughing the passer play against Aaron Rodgers. And we may be talking about a Jets team that is in utter desperation. Now, where are we with the Jets defense? I made a B- joke already this week that if Salah runs stairs again on prime time, who is a defensive coach and cannot get the defense right, I got a lot of problems and a lot of words for a guy that I'm sitting here with questions about. Is he a leader of men? I'd say at this point, he's probably more vocal of a leader than he is X's and O's. I mean, they were gouged gouged through 2 weeks. There's nothing else to sit here and say. The Jets have given up 155 on the ground, average. Through 2 weeks, the Patriots have ran for 177 on the ground. That's fourth in the NFL through 2 weeks. Now you sit there and you go on the other side. All right. We know this is a much improved Moses, Simpson, Tyron Smith. Yes, I know all kinds of 53-man rosters in this league. Jets offensive line, much improved. Rodgers has not been running for his life at all under center. But this running game, Breece Hall's a dude. Not saying that. But 84 and a hay on the ground here, while the Patriots have the second best rush D through 2 weeks at giving up only 58 on the ground, the game plan's already right in front of our face. The Patriots are going to double, triple down on running. And I think the Patriots schematically on the defensive side, now Aaron Rodgers could absolutely come out and gouge them because the Seattle second week offense, now they had no Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet really didn't do much on the ground, as you see it right here. Patriots second best ground D through 2 weeks. But this is a pass D in New England that's susceptible to getting cooked. But I don't know if we have a ton of continuity, enough continuity at least, through this 2 weeks with the Jets offense to feel great. I mean, who is Aaron Rodgers' second receiver? By the numbers, it's Breece Hall. Now, could have been lightning in a bottle, could have been real, but my goodness, Braylon Allen, huge catches out of the backfield. And this is a guy that ranks third in receiving yards for the New York Jets. So we're talking about a week one seam down the middle of the Lazard on a free play, which again, you just orchestrate differently. Vintage Rodgers gets him on a snap count. Free play. But outside of Lazard catching that one rock, a lot of checkdowns in this offense thus far. Now let's just talk a little more into the numbers here. Patriots allowing 16 and a half. Jets allowing 24 and a half. We got a 38 and a half number over under. We got the Jets laying 6.5. Now, just Patriots Jets head-to-head betting trends. Take it what you want. I had to pull it out. This is per Sports Illustrated. The under's hitting the last 4 matchups dating back to 2022. The under. New England's covered 6 of 7 dating back to 2021 and covered the spread both times last year. Both times this year, excuse me. Jets overs have hit 2 weeks in a row this season. But let's talk. I'm all over the place with research. Action Network, another great trend here. Thursday night, since 2010 on, totals of 40 or lower. 19 and 7 to the under. 73% hit rate. Now, before December, even more prevalent on that number of totals 40 or less since 2010, 14 and 3 to the under. Now, primetime unders that aren't Monday night are hitting at a 68% in that number. And short weeks, ladies and gentlemen, specifically Thursday night, 21, 4, and 1 on Thursday night unders. 50% chance of rain, could be some wind. I'm telling you right now, Van Pelt, this offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, he's calling runs at a 5th highest rate, chewing up almost 34 minutes in possession. 4th highest TOP in the league through 2 weeks. Now, what happened with the Jets week 1? They held the ball for less than 21 minutes. They got smoked. You look at the numbers, I think it was actually the least amount Aaron Rodgers has ever held offensive possessions. I got to go back and double check. But if you're not controlling the time of possession and you're not controlling your offense from a turnover perspective, We feel great about laying 6.5. Now, this is another interesting element. Where are we on turnovers? Because the New England Patriots are in the plus category here. Now, Pittsburgh's leading the way at +5 in turnover differential, and there's a grip of teams with +2. But one of those teams is the New England Patriots. So we know Aaron Rodgers doesn't turn the ball over, but we know Brissett's not going to put himself in spots. Van Pelt's not going to call plays for them to turn the ball over. Jermaine Johnson is walking around the Jets facility with one Achilles. He's out. Bryce Huff is in Philly. Where are we now? Injury report. I'm filming this on Wednesday. You got Reed. You got DJ questionable. You got CJ Mosley questionable. I just don't feel comfortable laying 6.5 points. This could be a gross game. This could be a slow game. And this could be really who's getting the 20 points first. If it's at 38.5 right now, 37, 38, these are all key numbers in totals. 20-17 hits the under. 21-17 hits the under at 38.5 right now. We could be walking into it. New England has to run the ball, be successful against this team. Look, the Jets were a top 2 pass D last year. There's no question that this is a club that can shut you down the passing. But New England's already showing their hand. They're going to run Ramondre after you, and they're going to try to smack you in the face with Antonio Gibson. 1-2 punch all game long, and they're going to play stout run D. And is Aaron Rodgers going to beat him? Now, short week, could be lean on the vets. Jets should win this game. I'm not laying the 6.5. We're taking the New England Patriots at +6.5. And we're taking the under. The Scuba Steve under. Coming off a week where we again saw a lethargic across the league batch of lack thereof touchdowns. Go back 5 years. Look, week 1, week 2, we got now 2 Costco samples of just teams across the league not scoring. We know New England is going to at least try to throw Rodgers all kinds of looks. Not going to shut him down by any means, but you're laying 6.5. Aaron Rodgers is 25th right now through 2 weeks in passing yards with 3 touchdowns and a QBR of 47.8. And we got a top 2 rush D in New England through 2 weeks. No Kenneth Walker. All right. First week for the Bengals with no Joe Mixon. Go back 2 weeks to that 16-10 game. All right. But if it's a 16-10 type formulaic game, we cover, we hit the under. Jets should win this game. I think this is a look for live betting opportunities in this matchup. Now, before I get out of here, so I just don't want to keep repeating myself, we're going under, and we're going with the New England Patriots +6.5, excuse me. 2 guys you got to look at in the receiving prop standpoint is Breece Hall and Hunter Henry. And it's really quite simple. You look at Hunter Henry, he leads the team in targets by 7. He's the only man with double-digit receptions for the New England Patriots, and he's averaging 12.7 a catch. I'm looking KJ Osborne, Demario Douglas, Thornton, Polk. I'm not touching anything, but I will consider a Hunter Henry receiving prop and going over of 33.5. Now, staying on receivings before we get to rushing, Breece Hall at 30.5 here, folks. 30.5 receiving yards. I don't want to say it's a no-brainer. It's up almost, I think, like 7-8 yards from last week on the prop market. He's got 14 targets. I mean, Rodgers put a absolute bill for dime in his pocket. Beautiful catch. Now, 91 receiving yards might be misleading because he did have an unbelievable touchdown catch of 26 yards. but I'm looking at 14 targets. I'm looking at Garrett Wilson first in targets and Breece Hall second in targets. Now, Braylon Allen, youngest in decades to catch a touchdown pass, is someone I think on the market to consider as well. But I don't see him on FanDuel, so I can't give you a line. Just look out for Braylon Allen if he hits the prop market. Now, he is on the rushing side of things at 22.5, but Ramondre Stevenson at 64.5 rushing yards and Antonio Gibson at 20.5 rushing yards. Let's say there is wind. Let's say there is a little bit of rain. Let's say we're reminding ourselves Brissett's got one completion of 20-plus yards, and we're reminding ourselves that the Jets let Mason, Tony Pollard, and Spears have their way. They were not shut down. They were not slowed down. We have to hammer both Ramondre and Antonio Gibson. I got a fantasy league with no RB2. I'm plugging and playing Antonio Gibson. I think he could be a sneaky anytime touchdown backing on Thursday night. But it's really quite simple. Ramondre's run for 201. Antonio Gibson's ran for 114, 4.4 yards per carry, 6.3 yards per carry. Now, 46 to 18 workload, huge discrepancy. But going against a very good pass D, or at least coming off last year, and the combination of Brissett not taking any shots, you just would like to think Gibson will be getting in the workload a little more frequently. I think it's a criminally low number for a guy that already showed you he can break out for a run. Antonio Gibson had a 45-yard run last week. So Ramondre is probably a little more first down, second down, 4 yards, 3 yards. They're going to make an emphasis defensively on this run, but Salah's got to really show me something. And if he gets out coached by Gerard Mayo, it's going to be real ugly on a New York Friday when the Giants are winless without a kicker, or a backup kicker, I should say, and the Jets drop a game to the Patriots. We've just seen this before. Now, vintage Rodgers pops up, we could be cooked. I'm banking on scheme, on run heavy, on both sides, at least making an emphasis to establish the run. But we will eat our medicine if this goes over 38.5. Patriots plus 6.5. Scuba Steve under of 38.5. And my favorite props thus far, without question, Breece Hall and Hunter Henry over on receiving yards. Ramondre and Antonio Gibson over on rushing, 64.5, 20.5 respectively. I'm fresh off the Falcons plus 5.5. When nobody had them, your boy had them. Appreciate you watching. Jets, I'll be in the building. Plus 6.5 and the under of 38.5. Get it before it drops to 37.5 on game day. Sports gambling with Moneyline Monaco. Appreciate you. Rate, review, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Means a lot, truly. Don't forget to hug your mothers. We'll see you next show.